Everything's coming up to Timberwolves. Yeah, in the zone. Simple dedication to the team when you're in the know. To Timberwolves. Yeah, in the soul. Lifting all the positivity for the Wolves to grow. So, where we going from here, man? We listen week to week to get the clearest to clear. Recaps, got that. Soundcap, got that. Team ads, got that. So tell me what they do not have, huh? How dare you? Foolish question to ask, but I don't mean to go brag. But boy, they got all the stats, and they could go all the way back from KG to Zerbiak. And all I'm saying is that the cast, a one-stop shop for my Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Ain't a thing falling, everything's coming up. Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Ballin' from the autumn, ain't nobody gonna stop them. It's the Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Phonies, you can spot them, they the sheep under their clothes. Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Talk a lot about them, y'all don't really know. Let's go.
Welcome into another Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. My name is Gabe Anderson. It's been a little bit, but we are back, and I'm joined as always by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
Doing good. Doing real well, starting a new NBA season. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's crazy how close the draft is to the NBA Finals. It seems like the NBA Finals ends and then then we got Summer League on the horizon, which we'll talk about in a little bit and stuff. And also we're joined by a special guest, Zach Sigler. Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. Big fan of the show, so I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're hailing from St. Cloud, correct?
That is correct.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. I spent a good amount of time up there in college, so I'm familiar with the area. So
it's hockey town. Yeah. It's hard to have big basketball fans in a hockey town like that.
That's true. That's a good point. And no football either. I mean, the football team is non-existent anymore, mainly because people would just go to the hockey game and forget the football game. Anyway, it's the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast, and as you see on the ticker on the bottom of the screen, which is actually a new feature here on the show, Wolves. And we'll start with obviously the first round. They draft Walker Kessler and Wendell Moore Jr. in the first round. So let's start with you, Chris. Initial, just you don't have to give it a grade or anything, but initial thoughts of their moves in the first round and a lot of movement that they did.
When I'm looking into the draft, I usually just center on kind of the draft range the Timberwolves are in. So I don't have to really look into, 30 guys. And then I look at like needs. And Walker Kessler was a guy I looked into. And because we needed to add the ability to play drop coverage, to play multiple defenses. And I actually wrote him off as somebody I didn't want. I thought he was too slow. I thought that he would be a guy that would almost only be useful in the drop coverage. He wouldn't be able to do like the high wall sliding that, Vando does, or if he plays with Cat, I didn't think that he'd be able to take on Cat's role. And then Cat, I don't think would be able to, slide and do what Vando did. So I wasn't too excited about it. There's other bigs that I thought could maybe do both. And I after the fact, I saw some tape and maybe we'll see, maybe he can slide better than I thought. Maybe he can move a little more horizontally than I thought. I kind of thought he was just a big oaf, to be honest with you, that blocked everything at the rim. And he has no real shot, 65% free throw shooter or something like that. And kind of a non-existent 3-point shooter, but I like the fact he at least took some. So it means it's at least, in his arsenal. So I was really down on that. We'll see. I'm starting to kind of come around to it, but in Tim Connelly, we trust until proven wrong, I guess. And then Wendell Moore was just kind of a guy for me. He's just kind of a guy. I thought we'll get into both those guys a little bit, maybe more, but I wasn't too in love with that pick either, to be honest with you. The guys that I really liked, we're still on the board, like Nikola Jovic or whatever it is. I really love that guy. And I thought that he has, top 5, top 10 in the draft potential. And he went one pick after Moore. So that's, to the Heat, which I kind of hate. So that's going to hurt.
Yeah. And you're talking about Walker Kessler's three-pointer. I was watching some of the highlights. He's very tentative if he's going to take it. Like, it's one of those where he, like, fakes passes 3 times, maybe does a pump fake, and then gets willed into it. But, Zach, what did you think? What did you think of the Wolves draft last night, particularly the first round? What you overall initial thoughts?
So initially when pick 19 came up, and Adam Silver walked on the stage and we picked Jake LaRavia, I was not super impressed, but he's a stud player, very athletic, but I know we have some Wake Forest fans that are friends of ours, so they probably won't like that. But to hear that we traded back with Memphis, that I was actually pretty happy. So, but the person I wanted at 19 was either Dalen Terry or Malachi Branham out of Ohio State. And Terry went one before in 18. And Branham went 20 to the Spurs. He was available. So I was a little bummed missing out on him. But with Walker Kessler, I kind of have a philosophy with going wings and point guards in the draft and getting your bigs in free agency and through trades and things like that. But as far as what he does on the court, he's exactly what I wanted as in our backup big, someone like a Mo Bamba or, a big like that. So someone like you said can play drop coverage. He defends the rim without fouling. So I think that was, in the grand scheme, I think we'll look back and appreciate that one. And Wendell Moore, he's a 3-and-D guy. I think both picks are fill need. I'm kind of a firm believer in drafting best available, but both fill a need, and so I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Chris, you had some?
Yeah, I think he nailed it when he said he protects the rim without fouling. That's something that, I'm not digging that deep on these guys. If my initial thought was like, I don't really like them. And they were saying that he was hardly ever in foul trouble when, getting 5 blocks a game and not in foul trouble. That's amazing. So, all those little things, like, he's a great pick setter. He's a great screen setter, something that Cat's not that great at. He's, on the initial short roll, he's good at finding a little pass to like a cutter off. These guys know what they're doing. Like, we don't as much. So I'm going to hold judgment. But, my initial thought was definitely, like I said, I wasn't too happy.
Right, and I know you were pretty vocal. You wanted Jokic or Jovic pretty wholeheartedly.
I'd take Jokic too.
Yeah, no, that'd be great as well. I think I saw a thing where, or like a meme or something. Apparently, when Jokic was drafted by Denver, like what was on the screen was like a taco commercial or something like that.
Taco Bell ad, yep, and it was just on the ticker like we got here.
Man, this is crazy. You think the future MVP got
time.
Yeah, exactly. So what I kind of want to go with this is and we'll start with you, Zach, because I know that Chris probably has a million things to say on this. What does this mean for the Wolves rotation? How much do you see Walker playing? And also, what does this mean for Naz Reid, like going forward? Because I don't know with how little Naz Reid plays anyway. I wonder how, because I don't know if I see Walker starting necessarily. I kind of see him as Cat's backup. So we'll start with you, Zach. What does this mean for Naz Reid, in your opinion?
So if the roster stays put, I think Naz will still have a little bit more minutes than Kessler will. But what I think this does is it allows Naz to be a good trade chip. So I kind of see him getting moved in the near future, maybe him packaged with Beasley or something I'm not a fan of, but maybe even D'Lo. So I kind of see him getting moved in a trade in the future.
Okay, so you see him on the move. Let's say he does stay here, or maybe you think he's going to go too, Chris. What's the future for Naz Reid with the squad? What do you think after last night?
Well, I've never, the last couple of years, I've or last year specifically. I didn't feel like Finch was really a big Nas guy, and maybe he just knows he has to ride Nas a different way to get production out of him. I'm not sure. Um, and the thing about Nas only playing 12 to 15 minutes, it's because he was solely the backup five. That's all he did. He only
Right.
played when Cat was out. And sometimes I was like, well, I mean, he's what, 6'10"? He's not like he's 7 foot, and he's lost a lot of weight, and he's kind of spry. Like, I thought he could maybe play some of power forward next to Cat. And the more I thought about that is maybe the reason we don't do that is Cat gets in foul trouble a lot, and to have a solid backup five is actually very important with Cat. So maybe it was just they didn't want to, get both their bigs in trouble. I don't know. So adding another big is gonna maybe Nas will play more four now. Maybe they'll play two bigs at a time now. Maybe Tim Connelly coming in. He worked with Finch when Finch was, he didn't work with him when he was in with the Pelicans when they had Anthony Davis and Cousins, but he was in that realm. Dell Demps, who's on the roster, was there when that happened. So maybe they're going to do a two big lineup. We lost Zach.
No, he's back.
I'm not sure what happened.
Maybe they'll do a two big lineup or something, or who knows? Like, I don't really know what's going to happen. The thing about Nas is his contract is so small. He only could really be added as like a sweetener, which is also important. So I would assume he's going to get traded. But if he does, we're still going to need another big because now we only have two legit centers. So I don't know. We'll see.
I know the day we see the headline Nas traded, I know it's going to break your heart, but I mean,
it'll hurt me. But in the same sense, I mean, it's not fair to a guy that I feel like has 25-minute a game potential to only give him 12 minutes a game.
Sure.
If that's all that we can give him, like, it's kind of a crappy move by our organization to hold him hostage, So I hope they let him leave if he's not going to be getting minutes.
Right. Zach, go ahead. What you got?
A question that I kind of had is
yeah, sure.
Do you see a Nas and Kessler or a Kessler and a Vanderbilt lineup working out within any lineup?
Chris, go ahead. What do you think?
It's going to depend on me if Kessler can move his feet. If he can move his feet to play the kind of hedging sort of where you meet the point guard at the point of the pick and just kind of hold them up there. If he can do that, anything's open, everything's open. If he's solely in the drop, if he only can do drop, I don't know how often are we going to do drop. It'll be really interesting to see how that works out. The thing about Kessler is he's huge. I saw in the last 10 years, there's only been 10 players that actually measure 7 foot without shoes on, and he's one of them. Most of them are bums. But he basically measures up the same size. He's a little bit taller, but about the same size as now I can't think of him. The big Grizzly center, the big monster from Australia or New Zealand.
Hold on. Keep talking.
There's total. He's not.
No, for the Grizzlies.
Grizzlies.
That we played off the court. Why can't I think of his name?
Adams.
Yeah,
Steven Adams. Oh, yeah, Steven Adams.
He's like the exact same size of Steven Adams. So, this is a big boy. Like, he's not just tall. Yeah. Like, he's not like you mentioned Mo Bamba, who, I'll sing praises for. I want to bring him in as, if we can get him at a decent price. But, that's kind of another lean guy. This guy's a big boy. Like, he's going to be able to, handle Nikola Jokic. He's going to be able to handle, handle as well as anyone can, but he's going to be able to bang with those big guys.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's one thing Kessler, like you were saying, brings is just some size to the Wolves front court. And the other thing I would say, the problem with – I could see him playing with Nas, but the problem with him playing with Vanderbilt is he might be able to maybe get a lob or a dunk, that's two guys who are offensively challenged on the court at the same time. And I feel like the Wolves have had a history of having too many of those guys on the court at the same time. So that would be my thing with Vanderbilt. I wish that Vanderbilt could almost like Gorgie Jang could establish just like a short jumper or something where he could hit like a mid-range 15-footer just to stay.
I think he'll have a corner three. I think he's going to have a corner three next year. I think he will.
Right, which would be great. Zach, go ahead.
I think I see Walker Kessler kind of growing his offensive game. I think he's kind of a sneaky shooter. I don't think that was his role, but I kind of see him growing as a shooter. So But on the flip side of that, that's what makes me kind of think we'll hold on to Nas, because we do need depth, and if he doesn't develop that, the trio of Cat, Vando, and Kessler, when Cat's on the bench, there's just not much offense. So that's the part that's that wants me to keep Nas going forward.
Yeah. Chris, go ahead.
What we have to remember is we were the shortest team in the NBA last year. Mm-hmm. So adding a 7-footer and then being oh, now we can get rid of a guy. No, we need more of it. So I wouldn't be overly mad if we brought in, hate to, be a dead horse, Mo Bamba, if we get him on a mid-level and he plays like a power forward. So now we've got Nas and Mo Bamba and, Vando at the 4 and Kessler and Cat at the 5. And now we went from being one of the smallest teams to maybe we'll play Twin Towers. Maybe we could change the whole game with how we were playing. So it's wide open. It's wide open. It's hard to tell what this front office is going to do. They made 1 million trades last night. They're moving.
Yeah.
So who knows? It's one of those things that, get back to me in a month when the roster's a little more settled, and maybe I can tell you what I think of the draft, because I don't even know what the roster is going to look like.
Right. That's true. Yeah. We are definitely in the early stages of what this roster is going to look like. There's a lot of question marks. There's D'Lo. There's Beasley, if he's going to be here. There's, a bunch of guys. Basically you could say for any guard on the Wolves, is he going to be here? Is the big question. But let's kind of go into focus, and we might not have as much on this guy. But Wendell Moore, our other first-round pick, we'll go to you, Zach. What do you think of that pick? Kind of a value pick late in the second round. We know what Chris is going to say, that he wanted a Jovic at
I
that
won't
spot,
say it, I promise.
Yeah. But what do you think? Do you think he can be like a rotational guy? Obviously, I don't see him starting week 1 or to start the season or anywhere. But where do you think he fits in with this lineup as it is constructed right now?
I like the pickup. He's a guy who can handle the ball a little bit. He ran Duke's offense a lot.
That's true.
So I think he can kind of play the 1 through 3 through stretches. So decent shooter, pretty high IQ player. So I like the pick. Initially, I kind of wanted Jovic. I was kind of
there you go.
Done saying the name, but I did want him. Patrick Baldwin Jr., I think he was available, so I thought he would have maybe been a good pickup. The person I really wanted and was Jaden Hardy. So if I could pick one player that we could have picked at that pick, it would have been Jaden Hardy. But he's just a player I'm high on. I see him as a future maybe Jordan Poole role. So he was who I wanted, but. Mm-hmm. Wendell Moore, he's a good high IQ player, so I'm happy.
Yeah, he seems like a good defender, and which the Wolves have had a history of taking quote unquote good defenders. Chris Dunn, Josh Okogie, but we don't need to talk about that right now. But Chris, what do you think? Wendell Moore Jr., do you see him having any role with the squad at all, or just do you think it was just we'll give him a shot, see what happens, maybe throw him in summer league? Whatever happens, maybe in Iowa, who knows?
I think he'll definitely have some Iowa time this year. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Right.
I see him as, like you mentioned, Josh Okogie. Imagine Josh Okogie that shot 41% from the corner 3. I mean, we're not going to need this guy to be doing much other than when the ball swings to you, either swing it again or take the open shot. Like, that's all we're asking him to do. Make the smart pass. What I like, I mean, so I wasn't, what really threw me off on that pick, on actually both of these picks, but mainly that pick, was Tim Connelly before his only interview that he had. He mentioned that in the draft, he likes to draft guys that maybe 3 or 4 years down the road are going to be impact players, guys that have like high upside, like kind of take home runs is what he kept talking. And it could be smokescreen, not too strange to have a smokescreen at that point, but so he was saying that, and then he went kind of the opposite. He went with 3-year guys that have been established, and guys that know their role. Like Wendell Moore has always played with superstars. He's never been the superstar, even though he was like the 40th ranked player, something like that. So high ranked guy, but he was never the guy at Duke, for all his years. So he'll probably fit in pretty well. Like, he knows to come in and how to play a role, which is important for a guy you're drafting that low. You don't maybe want a guy that is going to come in and think that he's going to be a star soon, because now, you're getting it twisted on what you really can be. So, like Zach said, he's a smart player, and that's going to go a long ways. And he's a good defender. So if he can give us a Kogi style defense with spot up 3-point shooting, there's always a role for that. There's always a role.
I mean, we've seen so many guys throughout the NBA history. I think it gets thrown around a little bit too much, but it's almost true. 3 and D guys just play D, hit a 3 every so often, and you can find your way on the court. Like, maybe he can be our Danny Green, who knows? But exactly. So let's kind of look into anything that you guys saw in the second round. And now the Wolves did a lot of movement in the second round. I think they made a total of 4 trades or something like that. Was there anybody? Do you think that? And I'm trying to find who they actually ended up with. Do you guys remember? Or
Josh Minot?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that guy.
He was the main guy.
Yeah,
and then we got a Euro point guard,
Spagnolo.
Yeah, who'll be a drafted stash most likely. We probably won't see him.
Yes.
For years to come. But we'll start with you, Chris. Anything you saw out of the second round? So maybe not necessarily the guys we got, but guys that you think we could have taken like a shot on, maybe like an EJ Liddell or something like that.
Oh yeah, dude. There's tons of guys I loved there. I mean, Jaden Hardy fell to the point where it's like we could easily get him. Liddell fell, which I didn't love the guy, but at that point, for sure.
Take a shot.
Yeah. I loved JD. What's his last name?
Davidson.
The point guard with the JD Davidson. I loved him. I wanted Gene Montero. There's a lot of guys, but maybe there's a reason we didn't go point guard. I don't know. There's something there might. I mean, it seemed very strategic that we went out of our way to not draft point guards. So we'll see what that's about. But talking about Minot, that guy's legit. Like, he's a legit athlete. I mean, he's a ways away from being a full rounded player. But I mean, if you loved Vanderbilt, that's the same guy. Like, there's a reason why, guys like that make rosters, like Kenneth Farid type guy. Like, he's going to be all over the place. He's a super freak athlete. He's 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan. He's not as bulky as Vanderbilt, but he can handle wings. He can handle 2 guards just as much as he can handle power forwards. I mean, I think this guy's going to have a role. It might not be his role might be, to develop in Iowa for 2 years until Vanderbilt's contract is up and he wants, $10 million, and we let him walk and we bring this guy in for, $1.5 million to fill the role. So, I don't think it's a bad move. Super upside athlete, probably one of the best, if not the best athletes in the draft. Never a bad idea.
Right. Zach, what do you think? What do you think about what the Wolves did in the second round?
It was all right. I think there's a lot of hidden talent in the second round. For our stash, at number 50. At 52, the Pelicans drafted a guy named Carlo Matkovic, I want to say his name is. But he's a guy that I see having potential. He'll probably come over in 2 years, I want to say. I know he has a contract right now. But he's a great shooter, someone that I see having potential in this league. I know we traded Kendall Brown and Bryce McGowan. I think both of those players, Bryce McGowan's a huge scorer. Kendall Brown's a very good defender. So I think we might end up regretting getting rid of those two. So
okay, interesting.
Speaking on those two, one of those Brown is from this Twin Cities, and McGowan. I think I saw him like sometimes early on as like a lotto guy. Like so, there was definitely talent in the second round, but maybe there's red flags on these guys. Maybe there's a reason. It blew my mind how far Hardy dropped. Like maybe something's going on. Like I don't know. There's more to it than just on the court ability sometimes. So that's the stuff we're not privy to always.
Right. So let's get into it. Just your own personal opinion, and I know hindsight is 20/20, so you'll probably have a much better answer to this question. Just even at the beginning of the season, but what grade would you give the Wolves draft? Tim Connelly's first draft, just at face value, what grade would you give it? And we'll start with you, Zach. What do you think? What grade would you give it?
So at first, I was probably going to be a little more harsher than I'm going to be. I didn't like it very much at first, but I want to say it was probably more in the B plus range for as far as filling needs. As far as potential, I would say that was probably more of a C minus grade. But for filling holes, I think we got some guys that will actually star in their role and get some minutes. I see more stepping right into the Prince and Okogie role right away. He very well could be a 10-15 minute guy his first year. So I'd say B plus.
Okay, Chris, what do you think? What grade as of now would you give the Conley's first draft?
So I was a C minus guy all last night, and I'm not going to fall too far off that. I'll probably go C. But we were a playoff team, and if we keep the roster as is, we have 3 guys that are getting 35 minutes a game, pretty much. Right. And when it comes to playoff time, which all we really need to start worrying about now, hopefully, role players are key, guys that can play roles. And, if we can add a mid-level exception guy that is a quality role player, and these 2 guys in the first round both play their roles well, which is big rim protector, brawny guy, and, spot up 3-point shooter, tough nose defender, that improves our team quite a bit. That gets us going in the right direction. I'm still going to give it a C because I think, like Zach said, it really lacks in my mind. Like there's ceiling on both. None of the most ceiling is Josh Minot, and that's a really long shot. These other guys are, they're good. They're going to be good, but like if they reach their 99th potential, I don't think either one's an all-star, which isn't really what you want, but okay. I saw a guy that's been on the podcast a couple of times said, Portal from the Spurs is kind of what Kessler looks like. And but that guy's a hell of a player, like he's turned himself into a really good player that, is probably going to make 20 mil a year at his next contract. So, won't be an all-star, but that type of role player that's, like you said, stars in his role, that's what we really need.
Right. And I personally, I'm more in the B minus range. I'm glad we didn't go after a guy like Ty Washington, who ended up falling back in the draft anyway, because, and I was listening to Locked On Wolves, and they were making a good point that if you really think that Ty Washington is going to be a better answer than D'Lo in his rookie year, there's no chance. There's no way that he gets you more wins than a guy like D'Lo, even if you have to pay a guy like D'Lo. And I think we'll talk D'Lo and the trade coming up in in the coming days. But one thing I kind of want to end with, and we'll kind of look outside of the draft, one team that you think, give me one draft winner and one draft loser in your opinion. And we'll start with you, Chris. What do you think? Non-Timberwolves, obviously.
I haven't dug through all the teams too much, but I loved Denver. Or not Denver, I'm sorry. I love Detroit. But a lot of that is I really like Detroit's roster to begin with. And it's easy to pick the guys that went really high, but I mean, they're really filling out a nice young roster that fits well together. I also really liked the way the top three fell, like for those players. I was not a Smith fan at all. I thought that he was maybe the sixth or seventh best player. But when he fought Houston, where they now have play creators all over, including the center position with Sengun, who's a legit player, I think. Now this guy can just play his role. And I think he might be a star role player. I don't see him as a star. So not making it so he doesn't have to be the main ball handler or the main bucket getter, I think is really important for him. The Magic going Banchero. I love that pick, dude. I like it too. Somebody who you can get the ball to and he can just do it all. Like they don't have anyone for that yet. So I like the way it fell. I love what OKC did just because I'm a big potential guy. So you give me, a crazy freak like Chet. You give me that I can't even say his first name, Jang Oak, the guy that was a lot like Jovic from France. I loved that. Yeah, I loved that, dude. Add them to probably the first pick or second pick next year. I mean, they're going to have a fun roster.
Oh, yeah. Plus, the SGA, Dort already there, yeah.
I think the Knicks failed because they didn't really bring in anyone. They just cut cap space to hope for a free agent. And, I mean, I've seen this 3 or 4 years in a row where they hope for free agents and none of them come. And if they're putting all their baskets and all their eggs in one basket for Brunson, go right ahead. That guy's not – I don't think he's going to be a needle mover. Like, you can get him, but what's
not
he
by himself,
like,
at least, no.
He's what, 5'8"? Like, come on.
Right. Zach, what do you think? Who are some winners and losers for you?
So my winners are definitely the Thunder and Detroit Pistons. I love Thunder going after Chet. I think Chet was their guy no matter if they had the first, second pick or I think Chet just fits what they're trying to do perfectly. A guy that I'm huge on is Jalen Williams, and they took him at 12. I think he can be like a PG-13 light.
It's a Santa Barbara guy?
Yep.
Because they took 2 Jalen Williams.
They did, yeah, in the second round from Arkansas as well. So, and he's a hard-nosed.
People loved him.
Yep, he's a hard-nosed defender. He's high IQ player. I want to say he was maybe a 3-year, 4-year player, but he changed Arkansas around, So yeah, no, I loved what the Thunder did. Detroit as well with Jaden Ivey falling to them. I think the Kings are going to regret that one.
Yeah.
Yes, I loved what they did. And so the losers, I think the Rockets and the Kings are, and then of course the Knicks. But the Rockets and Kings, I think both of them are really going to grow to regret missing on Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey and Jalen Green, I see Jalen Green as a 2. So I think those 2 together would have been dangerous.
Yes.
And Keegan Murray with the Kings, I think, he fills a need, but I'm a firm believer in best available. And I think, with a Jaden Ivey on the board, I think both of those 2 are going to grow to regret it.
Yeah, I would say for me, some of the losers, I didn't really understand what Memphis was doing. Jake, LaRavia, the guy that we ended up trading to them. I don't know how much value he brings. Also, they finally took the bait and took Ty Washington. Now, I know it's a late pick, but I don't know. I feel like you, at point guard, you already have Ja and then Tyus Jones there. So I don't really know what they're doing. Also, I'm glad that you mentioned it, but the Kings passing on Jaden Ivey, I don't know. I don't know about that one. Like, that Jaden Ivey seems – I know he wasn't one of the big 3 in this year's draft, but he seems like a can't-miss Can't miss prospect. Although I do like seeing Keegan Murray going to the Kings. I think that's a good pick. I think it's a great pick if Jaden Ivey isn't there, in my opinion. But anyway, so that's going to wrap up our draft talk for tonight. Zach, thanks so much for joining us on the episode.
Yeah.
We'll for sure to have you back.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I had a great time. It was good meeting you guys or seeing you guys in person, and I look forward to hopefully doing it again.
Absolutely. And Chris, as always, thanks for being here.
No problem, man.
And this is the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. And follow us on Spotify so you never miss an episode audio. And as always,